Okay. So are we ready? Okay. No, no. ब्राइटनेस देख लेने का. Okay. Hello everyone. Good morning. So today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 7th of March 2022. So today we are going to look into the important articles that were there in the Hindu newspaper. We will especially look into some mains related topics and also on prelims related topics. Okay. So let us start the discussion for the day. Okay. So the first topic that we are going to discuss about is related to the Punjab National Bank awaiting government advisory on SWIFT. Okay. So we will understand about Punjab National Bank, we will understand what is SWIFT. Okay. So this particular article is very important for the prelims exam because we are going to discuss in detail about what is SWIFT. Okay. Then the second topic is related to the effects of the Russia-Ukraine conflict on maritime trade. Okay. So we are going to discuss this particular topic with reference to international relations. We are going to understand about effect of Russia-Ukraine relationship on international trade. And this particular topic will give us two important topics, subtopics for prelims exam. One of the topic is related to the Bosphorus Strait and Dardanelles Strait. So we are going to look into the mapping related things, and also the second topic that we are going to discuss about those countries that surround the Black Sea. And we are going to understand about the importance of Black Sea. Apart from this, we are going to look into the Montreux Convention in this particular topic. So this is important. It gives us many subtopics for the prelims exam. Then the next topic that we are going to discuss about is democracies on slide. So recently the democracy report was published by one of the organization. That democracy report has also ranked India. So we are going to talk about what was the rank of India, which organization has released that particular report, and why India's rank is so low in that particular index. So we are going to discuss in detail related to how the democracy in India is has been changing over the time, right? Then after that we are going to look into the fourth topic that says the age of multilingual machines. Okay. So this topic we will look into with reference to the prelims exam. We will understand about the way how the translation happens in machine languages, how Google translates one language into another language. So we are going to look into in detail about the architecture or the logic that they use. Okay, we are going to discuss about some of the basic parameters that helps Google Translate to translate languages. Okay, so this may be asked in the prelims exam. Okay, then the next topic is related to from January 2022, NSE staffers flagged early access of brokers. Okay, so in this article we are going to look into the Indian economy related topics, and we are going to discuss about the stock market. And in the stock market we are going to discuss the role played by the National Stock Exchange, the Bombay Stock Exchange, the various indices that are released by these organizations. Like National Stock Exchange has an index which is known as Nifty 50, right? Then Bombay Stock Exchange has Sensex. So we are going to discuss in detail about them. Then the next topic is related to quadrilateral cuisines. Okay, so we have a quadrilateral security dialogue where India is also a member of it, right? Quadrilateral security dialogue has 4 countries. One of the countries India, then Australia, USA and Japan. So this particular article is related to international relations, and we are going to discuss about the relations, how India is playing role in Quad, and why different other members are pressurizing India to take a stand on Russia-Ukraine war that is happening now. So let us start the discussion now. Okay. So here in this article the basic thing that we are going to discuss is about SWIFT. But let us understand about what is the thing, okay. So internationally what has happened after Russia has started invading Ukraine, many other countries has started responding to this particular situation in one or other way. One of the way of responding to this situation is cutting off Russia from the banking channels, right, or like putting sanctions, economic sanctions on Russia, because many countries are not in a position to wage a war against Russia, because Russia is one of the superpowers in the world and it is nuclear capable state. Not only Russia is a nuclear capable state, but Belarus, which is also inside with Russia, it has recently declared itself to be nuclear capable state, right, because Russia has transferred some of the nuclear ammunition over there. So different Ukraine has been looking for help from any other country in the world, means like Ukraine has been asking for help. Many countries have started giving help to Ukraine, not not directly taking part in the war, but they have started giving their armed forces, they have started supporting them with ammunitions and other things. Many other countries have taken measures to cut off Russia from financial networks. So one of the response was from the US, EU, right. US means United States and European Union. So they have cut off Russia from the SWIFT SWIFT framework. So we will discuss about what is SWIFT framework. And so after then India has also been asked what is your stand, are you inside of Russia, or you are you are partying with Ukraine. So India has maintained a neutral stand in this particular situation because of India's long term interest. India in long term wants to maintain good relations with the United States and also with Russia. All right. So at this point of time, India cannot take side of USA, or it cannot take side of Russia. So it has maintained a neutral stand. But at the same time, India has been getting a lot of pressure to take a particular side. Okay. So recently the Punjab National Bank was asked, right, that have you taken any measures to cut off Russian banks from the SWIFT network? Then the Punjab National Bank officials, they have responded by saying that as of now we have not received any directive from the Ministry of Finance or from the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so this was the stand of the Punjab National Bank. You must be knowing that Punjab National Bank is the second largest public sector bank in India after State Bank of India. Okay, State Bank of India is the largest public sector bank. Then comes the Punjab National Bank. Okay, so we have understood the context in which this particular article was there in news. Now let us discuss in detail about what is SWIFT. Okay, so before we know about SWIFT, we need to know what is the full form of SWIFT. Okay. SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. Okay, so here we need to understand that SWIFT is an organization. It is a voluntary organization where member countries are part of this thing. It is a kind of international society where which is owned by member countries. All right, so this is not a bank in itself. It is very important for us to understand that this is not a bank in itself. It does not hold money, or it does not releases money for any other country. Okay, this just facilitates the communication between banking networks. Okay, banking channels communicate with one another through this particular society, which is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. How? Because it gives a secure way of transferring message through the banking channel. For example, we are located in India. Most of us know name of some of the banks in India. Many of us don't know name of all the banks in India, right? Means being citizen of India, we know about few of the banks that we have heard about. But what if one of the bank that we even don't know, that particular bank wants to send some money to someone located in Ukraine or located in some other country. Okay, so that will happen through particular communication channel. Okay, so that channel is provided by SWIFT. All right, so this SWIFT actually has a coding system where for initiating any kind of financial transaction, or to send some messages that we want to initiate this transaction, they do it through the SWIFT network, where they have maintained a code also. that code has 8 characters or 11 characters. It gives you a set of places, 11 placeholders where like you can at least have 8 characters or 11 characters. We are going to discuss about those characters in detail, but like here it is important for us to understand that it is not a financial network, it is not a bank in itself, okay. It just facilitates some kind of secure communication between banking channels, okay. So this network allows individuals and businesses to take electronic or card payments even if the customer or vendor uses a different bank than the payee, okay. So SWIFT works by assigning each member institution a unique ID code. So I discussed about unique ID code has 8 characters or 11 characters, similar to what we use IFSC code in Indian banking system, right. So this unique ID code helps, right, this SWIFT network to identify from which country that particular transaction has originated, what is the name of the bank, where the where the bank is located, means like branch name, right. So it helps in identifying all of these, okay. So it is a vast messaging network, okay. It is a messaging network, okay. So banking channels, I mean like they cannot ask other people to use WhatsApp and other things, so they have a secure way of doing communication. It is not a financial network in itself, okay. It is not a financial, what we say, like it is not a bank in itself. Now let us understand about those 11 characters that SWIFT uses, okay. So like the first 4 characters, okay, means like SWIFT gives you an option, right, before you initiate a message to enter 8 to 11 codes, means like the last 3 codes are optional in nature. Then first 8 codes, okay, if it is not 8, we will make it 8. Okay, so these first 8 codes are important and the last 3 codes are just optional, okay. So the first 4 characters talk about the name of the institute, okay. For example, if I talk about State Bank of India, okay, so SBIN, so like they can mention it like that. Then next 2 characters, the country code, okay. Here they have given an example also. We don't need to go in detail, but just for information I am sharing. Then the next 2 characters use the location or city code, I mean like institute code, country code, city code, and last 3 characters are optional, but many organizations use them to assign different codes for individual branches of that particular bank, okay. So this is the thing, okay. So who uses the SWIFT network? So SWIFT network is used by the banks, brokerage institutions, trading houses, security dealers. For example, SEBI may also use it, NSE may use it, National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, or any public bank or private bank. Then asset management companies, clearing houses, depositories, exchanges, corporate business houses, treasury market participants, and service providers, foreign exchange and money brokers, okay. So means like apart from this, many other financial networks may be using the SWIFT, okay. So here we have understood what is SWIFT. It is not a bank in itself, it is not a financial institution in itself. It just facilitates the transfer of messages which are secure for the banking sector, okay. So using the SWIFT network, one particular bank can send money to some other bank in some other country, okay. So every country has a centralized banking system similar to India. In India we have the Reserve Bank of India at the top level, which is the apex like top level banking institution in India. After then all other banks are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India itself, right. So here like like all the transactions that are going to happen from any bank in India to some other bank which is like which is not a part of Indian banking system. So they are going to do the transaction of messages or communication through the SWIFT channel, okay. So is it clear about SWIFT? Okay. So with this, now let us move to the next topic. Okay, this topic is very important for the mains exam, and also this is important for the prelims exam, okay. So we are going to discuss about this thing. It says the effects of Russia-Ukraine conflict on maritime trade, okay. So you know that like Russia and Ukraine are having conflict with one another, and Russia being a larger country, it has waged war against Ukraine, and Ukraine is trying to defend itself from Russia. They are they are defending themselves by using the force, or like they are seeking help from multiple countries around the world. Now what is happening, that like this particular war that is happening between Russia and Ukraine, it is not only affecting these two countries, it is affecting many other countries worldwide. And not only countries, it is affecting many other sectors in the world, like many economies are being affected, because like Russia and Ukraine are major oil exporters. What? They are major oil exporters. So the thing is, because of this particular thing, right, if we talk about the stock exchanges like National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, or stock exchanges of many other countries, they have seen a downfall of the stock market. Okay, because the sentiment of investors are going down, right? They want to safeguard their money. Okay, so it has lot of effects in various sectors of different economies in the world, and this particular article discusses about what impact does the Russia-Ukraine war has on maritime trade. Okay, so we are going to discuss about the effect of Russia-Ukraine on maritime trade. Maritime means the trade that happens through the sea routes, right, through the oceans, through the rivers. I mean, like maritime trade that happens through the like water bodies. All right. So here in this article, we are going to, this article written in this particular format, the context, story so far, what has been the impact on maritime trade so far in Ukraine. So we are going to discuss in detail about it. And apart from this, like this article is important for mapping. Okay, we are going to map two straits, Bosphorus Strait and Dardanelles Strait. Then we are going to look into the map of Black Sea. After that, we are going to understand about the Montreux Convention. We will discuss about what is Montreux Convention, and then we are going to discuss in detail about the means related aspects in this particular article. So before we start, let us see the location of Dardanelles Strait, Bosphorus Strait and Black Sea. Okay, so we are going to look into the mapping thing, and we are going to understand the most important one, which is the Montreux Convention. Okay, so let us discuss about Montreux Convention and these mapping thing. Later on we will go in detail about this particular topic. Okay, see, the Montreux Convention is an international convention of various countries. This particular convention was signed by 10 countries at that point of time when it was initiated. So this particular convention was signed on 20th of July 1936. Okay, so it is almost like 85 to 90 years has happened since this particular convention was signed, which is name of the convention is Montreux Convention. Okay, so this convention is regarding the regime of the straits. Okay, regime of the straits. Now we need to understand what are straits. Straits are narrow channel of water that connects two big water bodies, or it separates two land masses. For example, let's consider on one hand, okay, this narrow channel of water, let's consider this is a water body. Okay, this is a water body, this is again a water body. Okay, it can be a river, it can be a lake, it can be a sea, right? And these are land masses, and this particular thing, the middle one that you can see, narrow channel of water which is connecting two big water bodies, is known as a strait. Okay, it is known as a strait. Okay, so here we are going to talk about the Montreux Convention, and this Montreux Convention talks about the regime of the straits, means like how the straits are being governed, means like being governed means like through this strait which kind of ships can pass through, which kind of ships cannot pass through. it is mentioned in this particular this particular convention. Okay, so this particular Montreux convention gives the right to Turkey. Okay, it gives right to Turkey to administer which strait? To administer two straits. One of the strait is known as Bosphorus Strait, second is Dardanelles Strait. Okay, so the Montreux Convention is talking about two straits, and these two straits are being governed by Turkey. Okay, it is governed by Turkey. So if we talk about this Montreux Convention, it was signed by 10 member countries then means in 1936. One of the countries Australia, then Bulgaria, France, Greece, Japan, Romania, Yugoslavia, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union and Turkey. Okay, Soviet Union means the undivided USSR. I mean, like Soviet Union was known as USSR. So we have understood what is Montreux Convention. This convention talks about how straits are going to be governed. Which straits? Two straits. One of the strait is known as Bosphorus Strait. Second strait is known as Dardanelles Strait. And how these two straits are going to be governed by Turkey. Here we need to understand that this convention gives this right to Turkey. But at the same time, if we talk about the United Nations Convention, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Okay. If we talk about the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, this particular convention gives rights of rights of this innocent passage through any strait or any sea. Whether this particular thing also gives the right of passage to to this particular thing, maritime vessels or war vessels as well, provided that they are not attacking that particular country through which it is passing. Okay, so but the thing is, Turkey is not a signatory of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Turkey is a signatory of the Montreux Convention that gives right to Turkey to administer these two straits. But Turkey is not a signatory of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It is not a signatory of this particular thing. So what rights does this particular convention gives to Turkey? To administer effectively these two straits, alright, and at the same time it is not bound by the rules and regulations of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, because Turkey is not a signatory of this particular UNCLOS convention, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Now here let us understand about where is the location of Bosphorus Strait. This is Bosphorus Strait. You can see this is the red color one is Bosphorus Strait, and this Bosphorus Strait connects two big water bodies. One of the water body is Black Sea, second water body is Sea of Marmara. This is Sea of Marmara. So Bosphorus Strait connects Black Sea and Sea of Marmara. This is a important information for the prelims exam. Apart from this, we do have another strait which is known as Dardanelles Strait. This Dardanelles Strait. This connects Sea of Marmara with Aegean Sea. Okay, so these two straits are connected with one another. If we talk about like whether the Bosphorus Strait and Dardanelles Straits are connected, yes, they are connected. They are connected through Sea of Marmara. Means like they are connected straits. All right. So it is clear about the mapping of this thing. Okay. So Bosphorus Straits connects Black Sea and Sea of Marmara. Then the Dardanelles Strait connects Sea of Marmara and Aegean Sea. Okay. Here we are talking about two straits and three seas. Okay. Black Sea, Sea of Marmara and Aegean Sea. Now Black Sea is most important. Why? Because like Black Sea is a region through which Russia can wage a war against Ukraine, and Russia has already started doing certain war related activities through the Black Sea. So let us understand how many countries are surrounding the Black Sea. Okay, how many countries? Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Russia and Ukraine. All right. As of now, Ukraine is a separate country. until and unless Russia completely takes over it and makes it a part of Russia itself. So Black Sea is surrounded by 6 countries. These are Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Russia and Ukraine. Okay, this is an important information. Now if we talk about Russia, right, so Russia, this is known as Crimea. Okay, this is Crimean Peninsula. Okay, this is Crimean Peninsula. Russia had already taken over the Crimean Peninsula in the year of 2014, and after then this is under the control of Russia. Now Russia, can send its naval troops, okay, through into Ukraine through the sea of Black Sea. You understanding, through Black Sea. So this particular region in Black Sea plays an important role. So what happens, Russia, they may have their naval vessels stationed somewhere else, so they can ask those naval vessels to come to the Black Sea. But how they will pass through? They will pass through the Bosphorus Strait, means like they will have to come this route and they will have to pass through Bosphorus Strait. So as of now, what has Turkey done? Turkey has stopped the passage of Russian as well as Ukrainian vessels through it. Means like it has stopped the passage because it has the right to do so under the Montreux Convention, and at the same time Turkey is not bound by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea that allows the innocent passage of ships, right, through water bodies. Since Turkey is not bound, so it is not adhering to the UNCLOS, UNCLOS related things, and at the same time it is exercising its right to control the Bosphorus Strait. So is it clear till now? Right? So we have understood about the convention, we have understood the mapping related things. Now let us discuss about what can be the effect of Russia-Ukraine conflict on maritime trade. You know that maritime trade, trade that is happening through maritime region. So since since this strait is this strait is completely blocked by Turkey, so no maritime trade can happen through this particular route. If maritime trade is not happening through this route, it is not only affecting the Russia and Ukraine, it is also affecting all those importing countries that are importing oil and other related commodities from Russia and Ukraine. So many countries are finding it difficult to import oil and other things from these countries or any other nearby surrounding countries, right? So what is happening, it has led to increase in the oil prices globally, and in India also, the prices of oil has increased. All right, so is it understood? Okay, so prices of oil has increased globally, and so we have already understood that many Western countries have taken measures. What measures they have taken? One of the thing is they have started putting sanctions. Some of the countries Poland, they have started giving some ammunition to Ukraine as well. So it is leading to different economies around the world getting affected because of this particular war, and Russia is also being paralyzed because of economic sanctions. And recently Russia has declared that economic sanction is akin to war. Means they said if you are putting us economic sanction on us, we will consider it that you have waged a war against us. Okay, so this is the thing. a lot of things are happening now. So Ukraine, it says what has been the impact on maritime trade so far in Ukraine. Okay, means this, Ukraine is already under huge financial stress, economic stress, humanitarian crisis. So at this point of time, apparently no such trade activity is happening. So not only maritime trade is impacted in Ukraine, but also other ways of trade has also been impacted in Ukraine. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so you can read this article. I have included everything. So let us move to the next topic. Okay, so we will discuss about this topic in detail. So this topic talks about the democracies on the slide. Okay, slide means slipping down. Okay, democracies on this slide. So what is democracies on this slide? So recently what happened, I mean, like, you know, one report was published by VDAM Institute. Okay, we will discuss in detail about where this institute located, what is the full name of this institute, and that democracy institute, I mean, like, you know, it ranks almost 176 countries across the world, and it has ranked India also, and India has been ranked at a very low position. So they categorize different, you know, democracies, like different countries in the world, in 4 different categories, and India comes in the 3rd category. We will discuss about that thing. So we will understand the gist, we will understand, you know, like these were the things, I mean, like, you know, that were mentioned in the article. So it talks about what is the VDAM report methodology, then what parameters were used to assess the status of democracy, what are the main findings of the report, and we are also going to look into what does the report say about India, right? This is important under the report and indices heading for prelims exam. In prelims, like you know, get different reports and indices related question. So this is important under that, and it is also important for the mains exam under polity and governance section. It talks about like how democracy is changing in India, right? So you might be knowing, like, you know, press organizations, I mean, press is facing huge problem in India. Like if we talk about, you know, freedom of press, the freedom of press has been curtailed to a greater extent, and this particular article discusses in detail about misinformation that is being spread through, you know, news media outlets. It also talks about polarization, right, in a country by the majority to undermine the rights of the minorities. Okay, so a lot of things it talks about, so let us discuss about them in detail. So this democracy is on this slide, right? You know, this report is released by the VDAM Institute at Sweden's University of Gothenburg. Okay, so there is an institute which is known as VDAM Institute. Okay, what is the full form of VDAM? VDAM stands for Varieties of Democracy. Okay, VDAM Institutes for Varieties of Democracy. Okay, so this report can be called as Varieties of Democracy report. This report is Varieties of Democracy report, and this report is published by VDAM Institute at Sweden's University of Gothenburg. Okay, so they publish this particular index once every year. Okay, this is an annual democracy index, and apart from this, the full name of this particular report, if we talk about what is the complete name of this report, it is known as Democracy Report 2022, Autocratization Changing Nature. Okay, so autocratization means, like, you know, converting a democracy into autocratic form of government. Autocratic means, like, you know, the people who are heading the government, they are, you know, ruling the country through in autocratic manner, means like without giving due importance to the rights of minorities, and at the same time without giving due importance to the, you know, viewpoints of the stakeholders in the democracy. Okay, so after they come into power, they just, you know, talk about their I mean, like, agenda. They, you know, further their agenda without taking into view the plural, you know, like plural viewpoint. So this particular report classifies countries into 4 regime types. What are the 4 regime types? Like, it classifies different countries at, you know, 4 different I mean, like, types. So it has a liberal democratic index also. As part of this particular report, there are multiple sub index. I mean, like, this is a big report. It has various sub index. One of the sub indexes is known as liberal democratic index. Okay, liberal democratic index is a, you know, index of this particular report, which is Democracy Report 2022. Apart from this, there are other index also. We are going to discuss about them, but as of now, it you know, like, classifies different democracies into 4 forms. One of the form is liberal democracy. Okay, second is known as electoral democracy. Third is known as electoral autocracy. Fourth is known as closed autocracy. Okay, it classifies countries into 4 types of democracies. One is liberal democracy, electoral democracy, electoral autocracy, and closed autocracy. India has been classified as electoral autocracy. by this particular report. Okay, so it classifies India as an electoral autocracy, ranking 93rd out of 179 countries. Okay, so there are 179 countries. So this is the thing. So according to this particular report, one of the biggest drivers of autocratization is toxic polarization. Okay, when we polarize the society into different groups, majority, minority, on the basis of different segments of the society, like on the basis of religion, on the basis of caste, on the basis of structure, like on the basis of what we say, like middle class, upper class, lower class, like when the political power, they polarize the country into different groups, subgroups for their own benefit. That is known as toxic polarization. Okay, and it has been reported that this particular trend is there in around 40 countries. Okay, in around 40 countries, means more than 30 countries in the world are undergoing this particular trend where toxic polarization is happening. And there are only 5 countries where improvement is happening. I mean 5 countries are moving towards liberal democracy. I mean they are improving themselves, but majority of the countries are actually going back. They are going back to the this is the thing. So it says states more than twice as many countries, 32, are undergoing autocratization, and only 15 are going through democratization. Means some of the countries, like India is already a democratic country, but according to this report it says that India is changing into autocratization. Means from democratic to autocratic, it is changing, right? This is the thing. And so what methodology do they use? Okay, so as of now, I mean if we talk about there are various if we talk about judicial independence, right? Judicial independence, independence of the press, lot of things, they are not directly measurable. So what they have started doing, they have started aggregating the expert judgments. I mean on the basis of what experts say. So they have started categorizing different countries. So this is based on the expert judgments. Okay. Now here we have understood that it classifies different countries into 4 democratic structure: liberal democracy, then electoral democracy, electoral autocracy, and closed autocracy, right? 4. And apart from this, it uses 2 parameters. Okay, so so this particular conceptual framework was designed on 2 parameters. One of the parameters is known as electoral dimension. Second parameter is known as liberal principle. Okay, under electoral dimension, they take into account free and fair election, whether the election is happening free and fair or not. Second, it talks about liberal principle. Liberal principle means principles that are followed by the democratic countries. Okay, so individuals and minority rights against both the tyranny of the state and the tyranny of the majority. Liberal principle means it talks about rights of the minority against, I mean the what we say, tyranny of the state. Tyranny state means it is a bigger body. It has the authority to make decision for the majority, for the minority. But the state can itself undermine the minorities by following its own tyrannical principles. And at the same time, majority also has tyranny over the minority, and this has been seen in many countries across the world. This is there in India, this is there in USA, this is there in Russia, it is there in Myanmar. So majority has a different perspective towards minority. Okay, so I talked about there are sub indexes under this particular report. One of the index is known as liberal component index. Second is known as electoral democracy index. Okay, so we have discussed about electoral democracy index. Then it also has liberal component index. Liberal component means how much liberal is that country. I mean is that country having proper fundamental rights, proper structure to give rights to the minorities or not. Okay, then they also have egalitarian component index. deliberative component index, means like they have multiple participatory component index. So it has various indexes under this particular report. What you can do, you can write the name of the report, you can write about different indexes that are part of this particular thing, and whenever a question comes about like whether the nature of democracy is changing in India, you can talk about this particular report, you can mention about these indexes, and like you can talk about that according to this particular report, India has been classified as a electoral autocracy, like that. So this report was topped by 5 countries. Okay, if we talk about top 5 countries, the first country is Sweden, second is Denmark, third is Norway, fourth Costa Rica, and fifth is New Zealand. Okay, so these are the 5 countries that have topped in this particular report. So this is the thing. Then Sweden, Denmark, Norway, these are known as Scandinavian countries. Okay, they are known as Scandinavian countries. Now, so if we talk about ranking of India, India was ranked below many countries in the South Asia. Like if we talk about South Asia, India is ranked below Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, so India's rank is, what is the rank of India? 93rd, I guess. Okay, Sri Lanka 88, Nepal 71, Bhutan 65. Okay, India has ranked above Pakistan. Okay, Pakistan is 117, but like India's rank is not good in terms of, if you compare it with Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, those countries have a better performance. 93rd, this is the rank of India. This is the thing. So what does the report say about changing nature of autocratization? Okay, so one of the biggest drivers of autocratization is toxic polarization. Okay, toxic polarization I already discussed, a phenomena that erodes respect of counter arguments and associated aspects of deliberative component of democracy. Okay, means like if you have an argument, if the ruling class has an argument, then some other class, like they may have a counter argument, but like this toxic polarization tries to suppress the counter argument. Like if we talk about, like there have been multiple cases, people who raise their voice, they are booked under National Security Act and they are sent into jail. All right, they are booked under UAPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, means like they are classified as terrorists, they are classified as anti-nationals, right? So this is known as toxic polarization. All right, so this is one form of polarization. Then other form of polarization is like dividing the society, on the basis of religion, on the basis of caste, on the basis of class, like that. Okay, and apart from this, this report also talks about misinformation as one of the key tools that are deployed by those countries that are converting themselves from democracy to autocracy, right? So it talks about misinformation also. Okay, so these are the things, and this particular report also found that decisive autonomy for the electoral management body deteriorated in 25 countries. Electoral management body in India is the Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India manages the election, it oversees the election, and it also regulates the election in India. Its mandate is to conduct free and fair election in India. So this article is very important, not only for GS paper 2, but also those people who have public administration optional, right? So Ansari sir has been teaching this subject, so like he might be able to connect. You also have this optional PSIR. Okay, all right. Okay, so with this, now let us move to the next topic. Is it clear, this topic? Any doubt? Okay, all right.
It's important for PSIR also, sir.
Right. Now let us discuss about the another topic which is known as in the age of multilingual machines. Okay, this topic is important under science and technology. This is a very important topic under science and technology. In this article, we will talk about the translation techniques that are followed by different like organizations like Google Translation, okay, Google Translate. So we will understand about the complexities associated with translation of languages, right? So these are the some of the keywords that we are going to discuss in detail. So there can be a question in the prelims exam related to translation. I mean, like how the translation happens. So earlier they used a method which is known as statistical machine translation. Even like when we talk about this particular thing, I mean, like when Google Translate started functioning, they have deployed this particular technique which is known as statistical machine translation. Apart from this, they also have a method which is known as word embedding. We will understand about what is word embedding. Then we are going to discuss about artificial neural networks. We are going to understand about neural machine translation, and we will understand what role does transformers play in it. This transformer is not same as the transformer that like we have. This is not that one, okay? Transformer means transforming the language. I mean, converting language. I mean, like using mathematical models for translation of languages. So we are going to understand that particular thing. These keywords are important. I mean, like if you remember these keywords, you can use elimination techniques to find out the right answer if in case a question is asked. Okay. So let us understand about the multilingual machines. Okay. So in 1980s, if we talk about 40 years back, right, in 1980s they used a method which is known as statistical machine translation, and this particular method became popular for translating, okay, for translating popular documents from one language to another language. Okay, so it took as input hundreds of documents that were already translated by humans and created probability distribution when each word or phrase in a target language appears for the corresponding input in a different language. Okay, so let's consider there is a work in English, then there is a work in Hindi. That English work is already translated into Hindi. That this Hindi will be like given in that particular machine, and this machine is going to map the Hindi translated version with English, so that like it can develop itself. I mean, like so that the translation begins. So initially they have used this method which is known as statistical machine translation. Later on they have deployed another technique which is known as word embedding. What happens in word embedding? A matrix of numbered, okay, a matrix of numbers. Matrix means like for example, if I write like this, so this can be called as a matrix of numbers. Okay, it has 2 rows, it has 4 columns. This is a matrix of 2 rows and 4 columns. So what in word embedding, they used matrix of numbers enabled artificial neural networks to identify clusters of words with semantic relations. What do we mean by semantic relations? Semantic means conceptual relations. Conceptual, I mean, for example, for one set of sentence, there will be other set of sentence in another language. So they do have certain kind of relations between them. That is known as semantic relations. Okay, so this eventually led to neural machine translation, in which ANN performs. ANN means artificial neural networks. Okay, so this neural machine translation, earlier we used statistical machine translation. Later on, the latest version is neural machine translation, and in between we also used word embedding. Okay, statistical machine translation, then word embedding, then neural machine translation. So this neural machine translation uses artificial neural networks, and it performs 3 important operations. What are those operations? One of the operation is known as encoding. Encoding means, let's consider we have a piece of information, bank. Okay, let's consider there is a word which is bank. So bank, single word, but it can be used in different connotations. One of the connotation can be river bank, right? Second connotation can be bank in financial sense, the financial banks, right? We can have blood bank. Okay, but the thing is the machine is able to identify, like if you write a sentence, it is going to identify the context in which this particular word is used. So for that purpose, the artificial neural network assigns a specific number. It assigns a specific number to this word. For example, when we are referring to river bank, okay, so in that case it may assign 4. If we are talking about a financial bank, it may assign 6. So like after reading the sentence that is written, so it will assign a specific number to different words. So that number will be related with other, I mean like other sentences. So that's how it does. So encoding is the first step, okay. So they encode the information. Then like attention is given, right? Attention means they understand, first of all, they encode, then they understand like in which context it might have been used. Then decoding is done to understand like in later part in the next language, I mean like from one language to other language. First encoding, then attention means translation, then decoding, okay. So this is what happens. And Google Translate also uses this particular, so Google Translate is the example of this multilingual machines, okay. So like if any text is written, and if we talk about Google Translate, the moment you write 1 or 2 words, it will give you suggestion. Suggestion means few sentences below it. Like if you write down bank, so it will give a suggestion, river bank, it will give suggestion like financial bank or blood bank, like that. So how it is able to give it? They are using this particular methodology, artificial neural networks, okay. And they are nowadays using neural machine translation. But the earliest version is statistical machine translation, okay. So this is an important thing, I mean like it can be asked. So here, I mean like computer based translations developed from 1950s, okay. So they have took the ideas from the grammar, syntax and idioms, okay. Then in 1980s statistical machine translation became popular, okay. So we have discussed about it, and after then later on they have developed the latest one, which is known as artificial neural networks, okay. Artificial neural networks, now they are doing machine translation, okay, through artificial methods, okay. So this is just science and tech related thing. If a question comes, many a times UPSC asks questions based on practical information. I mean like from science and technology, they talk about, they ask those questions that has practical applications in real life, okay. So this particular thing has practical applications in real life. If you read this I mean like article properly, you will be able to understand the context in detail, okay. So this is an important topic.
Why was this in news? Why was this in news?
Why
was this in news?
Okay, this was in the text and context section in the Hindu, right? So they have explained about like how the multilingual translation happens. Now this is again the same article. Now let us discuss about another topic. This is related to the National Stock Exchange. So what has happened, I mean like in January 2012, some of the NSA staffs, they have flagged, means like they have warned that early access is available to the stock brokers, okay. So we need to understand that National Stock Exchange is one of the biggest stock exchange in the world, and before this we have Bombay Stock Exchange. Bombay Stock Exchange is the oldest stock exchange in Asia, all right. So the National Stock Exchange means like this is an organization which is administered, I mean like which is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, okay. The National Stock Exchange is regulated by Securities and Exchange Board of India, and recently the Securities and Exchange Board of India was in news because one of its former director was arrested by the CBI, right. One of the earlier director was arrested by the Central Bureau of Investigation related to some of the corrupt practices that she might have followed. And recently it was also news that like she used to share information with some yogi in Himalaya, I mean like this was in news, right. And because of the Russia-Ukraine war, these indexes have gone down. National Stock Exchange has Nifty 50. It has Nifty 50. Then Bombay Stock Exchange has Sensex. Okay, these two indexes are going down. They are, you know, performing very low nowadays. This is the thing. But apart from this, we need to understand like one more thing, the initial public offering. Okay, in your free time you can read about the IPO, because in today's newspaper there was a dedicated article towards IPO. And why IPO was in news? Because financial sector is not performing well, and in this case what happens, I mean, like, you know, various companies, they release IPO, means like they issue initial public offerings. We can discuss about them in detail, but it's going to take time. After this discussion I am going to discuss about them. Okay, what is initial public offering? See what happens, let's consider there is a company. Okay, I'll take the example of, for example, Paytm. Right, Paytm is a company. It wants to expand its business operations. For expansion of its business operation, what Paytm needs, it needs a lot of money, right? It needs a lot of money. But for, you know, raising a lot of money, it has two options. One of the option is it can go to a bank. It can go to a bank. Second option is it can issue IPO in stock market. Okay, it can issue IPO. Second is bank. If it goes to bank, what will bank do? Bank is going to lend some money, but bank is going to charge a fixed interest rate. Okay, so bank will charge interest rate. I am writing IR, right? Bank is going to charge interest rate, let's consider 10%, okay, or 12%. But if it issues IPO, then these IPOs will be, you know, purchased by the consumers. Not consumers means public at large, right? These banks, like if Paytm is taking loan from bank, then bank will only be a part of the profit of this Paytm, means like it has a fixed interest rate. Whether the Paytm is making profit or loss, it will charge, you know, interest rate, and it will also charge the principal amount. But in case of IPO, the public, the general public, you know, that who are taking the IPO, these public become the shareholder of the company. What? They become the shareholder of the company. If the company is making loss, they will also make loss. If the company makes profit, they will also receive the part of the profit. Okay, but in this case, bank will only be a part of profit because it is going to charge the interest rate. Okay, so this is the basic difference between a bank and an IPO. But like, you know, there are multiple other factors also, you know, where IPO plays role. So I hope you understood about basic things. IPO stands for initial public offering. After then they have follow-up public offering as well. Okay, so we will discuss about them in detail later on. Okay, so let us understand about this particular article. It says, now here what happens if we talk about this, you know, a stock market, for example, Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange. Here, like, people are investing their money in shares of different companies. Okay, for example, I as an investor, okay, you as an investor, so if you have money, you can invest your money in multiple companies at the same time. You can invest your money in Infosys, you can invest your money in Wipro, you can invest your money in ITC, Hindustan Unilever or Tata Motors, like that. Okay, you have different options. If you get to know that, like, you have invested sum of money, like, you know, everyone maintains a portfolio. They maintain a portfolio. They have invested some amount in this company, some amount in that company, and they have invested keeping in view that this particular company is going to make profit in future, and I'm going to get share of that profit. The moment you get to know that a particular company is going to make losses, what people do? People sell off, means like they sell off their share to avoid, you know, incurring losses. Okay, then they will purchase share of some other company. So here information plays vital role in making decision for the investors. Okay, when investors are making decision, the information plays a very important role. It plays a vital role. So those investors or those brokerage houses, okay, there are various brokerage houses, if they have information, if they have early access to the information, they will be able to use that information for the benefit of themselves, and this will hamper the perception of other, I mean, innocent investors. I would say innocent investors because like they are investing in a fair market, in a fair play. So they are playing the rule of the game, they are following the rule of the game to do the investment process. But those brokering houses, they have the who have the early access of information, they can utilize this information for their own benefit. Okay, so what has happened, like in this particular case, like early like in 2012 itself, 10 years back, some National Stock Exchange staffs, they have notified the National Stock Exchange that like some of the brokers have early access to the information. And how do they have early access to the information? The question arises. Okay, so what has happened, these like if we talk about here we are going to discuss about some of the things. Now let us discuss about some of the keywords before we move further. Okay, we have discussed about National Stock Exchange. It is the world's largest derivative exchange in 2021. In 2021, National Stock Exchange has got this distinction of being the world's largest derivative exchange. Okay, why? Because by number of contracts, because number of contracts that were traded in 2021 was the highest in the world. Okay, in 2021, and it was this statistics was maintained by Futures Industry Association. Okay, now let us understand what is derivative. Okay, we need to understand what is derivative. Derivative means, like, derivatives are those things, they are financial assets, like so there a derivative is a contract between two or more parties whose value is based on the agreed upon underlying financial asset. Okay, derivative can be bonds, commodities, currencies, interest rates, market indexes, stocks. Okay, these are the derivatives. Like bonds are form of derivative. So derivative is a what we say general word. Yes, right, and these are specific words. Okay, like it includes bonds, securities, commodities, currencies, interests, market indexes and stocks, etc. Okay, so derivative is a very generic word. Okay, generic and umbrella word. So let us discuss about like what has happened in case of National Stock Exchange. Okay, so National Stock Exchange has its own server. Okay, the market opens at a specific time, it closes at a specific time, it works from Monday to Friday from 9:30 to 3:30. Okay, so like there are trading hours. So during those trading hours only people can do trading in the stock market. Okay, so what has happened, I mean it was it was notified, I mean it was noted by different different agencies that the server that they were using, the server that the National Stock Exchange was using, that server had two deficiencies. It did not have a load balancer and it did not have a randomizer. Okay, it did not have a load balancer and it did not have a randomizer. What do we mean by load balancer and what do we mean by randomizer? Okay, load balancer ensures that load is evenly distributed among the TBT servers. What are TBT? TBT means tick by tick data servers. Means like there are different types of servers. Servers means that serves the request, computer generated request. Okay, so as of now we have people do have their in-house servers. Then we have cloud servers, for example Amazon Web Services, we have Google Cloud, we have DigitalOcean. So we have different types of cloud servers, right? We have different types of servers. So one of the server type is known as tick by tick data server. Tick by tick data server actually uses the time variant, time series for producing data, for giving information. So the tick by tick data server that was used by the National Stock Exchange, it lacked two things, load balancer and randomizer. Okay, load balancer maintains that load are evenly distributed. evenly distributed means, for example, like there is a server, there are requests from there, there are requests from there, there are requests from there. So the load balancer will make it sure that all the regions get equal attention, and they get information for the request that they generate. If you have load balancers, then information will be evenly distributed, so everybody will be able to access the information at the same time. But if load balancer is not there, a person who generates records request first, so he will get the information, and tick by tick server will keep on serving. The other people will be delayed. I mean, like after for example, one particular person request, he gets the queries, and he will keep on getting the information unless the complete information is passed over. The other people will not be able to get it. Okay, so load balancer maintains that like everybody gets the information at the time that they request. Okay, so that time load balancer was missing and randomizer was missing. What is the role that randomizer plays? Randomizer makes it sure that the information that is generated, it is random in nature. I mean, like if they give sequential information, people will be able to predict. For example, today they are getting one information, tomorrow they will be able to predict that the first stock that is going to be released will be of Tata Consultancy Services. Second that will be released will be of Tata Motors, or will be of Wipro. So like if we do not have randomizer, so it will be in sequential nature, and so that is going to help other people to predict like what kind of information they are going to receive next. So randomizer plays a very important role. But that time what has happened means like those people who maintain the server, they were in connection with some of the stock brokerage. It is known as OPG. Okay, OPG securities. I mean, like so these OPG securities have come in connection with those people who maintain the server, and OPG securities used to get the information first, and they have used this for their own benefit. Okay, so that has led to some of the what we say corrupt practices being followed in a stock exchange. Means like a stock exchange in itself is a neutral body, but like their information was asymmetrically available to people. Okay, so CBI has registered cases and all. We don't need to go in detail about it. The only thing is we need to understand about what is tick by tick server, we need to understand what is randomizer, load balancer, what is National Stock Exchange, what role does National Stock Exchange plays, which organization regulates the stock exchanges like National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange. It is regulated by Securities and Exchange Board of India. Okay, so you need to understand what is Securities and Exchange Board of India. Go back home and read about SEBI, read about initial public offering in detail, because there is a likelihood that they may ask questions from these topics. So the last topic is related to quadrilateral cuisines. Okay, so we are going to understand cuisines. Okay, quadrilateral cuisines. Okay, India cannot be forced to pick a side in the conflict, but Russia could test its resolve. Okay, here what has happened recently, there was a meeting of the quadrilateral security dialogue, and its member countries are India, the United States, Russia and Japan. Okay, these are the 4 member countries of the quadrilateral security dialogue. In the quadrilateral security dialogue meeting, they have discussed about free and open Indo-Pacific. Okay, they have discussed that like in Indo-Pacific, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states will be respected, and countries are free from military, economic and political coercion. Okay, so this is the thing here, like these countries, other countries tried to pressurize India to take a stand, whether they are in favor of Russia or they are against Russia. Means like whether India is in favor of Russia or against Russia. But India maintained its neutrality. India maintained that we are not at war with Russia, and we are not at war with US. Means like India and US are part of one platform itself. Okay, so this is the thing. I mean they have discussed in detail about it. I mean they have also discussed about the issues that are happening in Russia-Ukraine war and all. So this is all. Means like you can read about this particular thing. You will understand about So about this quadrilateral security dialogue. So this was just a meeting. So this topic was in news. You need to understand about quadrilateral security dialogue, and you also need to understand about CAATSA. CAATSA is a law of the United States of America, similar to like laws of different countries that have, like India also have different laws. This is one of the financial laws that USA has placed for itself. It is known as Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. Okay, so through this, what America does, like those countries which USA considers that like they are adversaries for us, USA puts sanctions on them. For example, Russia, North Korea, Iran. Okay, so these are the countries that USA considers to be adversaries. Okay, so USA puts those countries in this particular list, so that like these countries receive, I mean, like lesser attention for economic purposes from different countries, and USA puts pressure on its allies to not to cooperate with those countries. This is the thing. Okay, so this is all. Okay, that's all that I had to discuss for you today. Okay, any question so far? Okay. Okay, so with this, let us conclude today's discussion on The Hindu newspaper. Thank you so much everyone for attending the session. Okay, good. Thank you.